Just let me hear some of that rock and roll music. Any old way you choose.
Hello, this is Katie with Vintage and Vinyl, and I'll be spinning some rockin' 50s records every week here on my channel, as well as sharing some cool Coca-Cola collectibles and other neat vintage finds. Stay tuned! Hey guys, this is Katie with Vintage and Vinyl, back with another great video for you today. And in this video, we are starting a new series called Story Time with Katie. And each week, I will be reading segments from this saucy book called Katie and Her Camera by Louis Hobart. And I hope you guys will stick around to see what happens. And I am so excited to be doing this. If you've been missing the live sales or the live chat recently, you probably don't know why this is so fun. So Misty at Thrifter Junker Vintage Hunter started the trend by selling saucy books on her live sale, and some of the graphics and the little captions on the back just seem so fascinating and scandalous, like you had to know what happened. And a lot of people have been saying, well, read some, and no one has done it yet. So I figured when I got this book from Nicole at Nesting Haven on one of her live sales, that this would be a perfect opportunity to start a little segment reading chapters from this book. Now, admittedly, when I first saw this, I was just attracted to the graphics and the fact that, well, it had my name on it. I never see anything with my name on it. So Katie and Her Camera was perfect for me because I am a Katie and I love photography. But then I saw it was a romance novel for young moderns, and I thought, ooh, this is even more exciting. And I thought, I will read this on my YouTube channel. So hopefully you guys will stick around each week for my series of videos. I will still have my vintage content, then I will have my What's Spinning on my record player video, and then new to the lineup, I will be doing Story Time with Katie. So stay tuned and let's see what happens to Katie and Her Camera. Part-time Work for Katie, Chapter 1. With you in a minute. Sit down, came a muffled voice from what looked like a closet in one corner of the room. Katie perched gingerly on the edge of a gray plywood chair nearest the door. Involuntarily, she found herself sliding back until she was sitting comfortably. It was that kind of chair, modern and easy. The room itself rather scandalized Katie. What kind of person would leave books, undershirts, socks, towels, and paper flung helter-skelter everywhere like this? It certainly didn't look very businesslike. There was a skylight and there were lights and camera equipment around, but this was not Katie's idea of a photographic studio. On the far side of the room, a half-open sliding door disclosed the kitchenette, and she guessed that the doors near it led to a bathroom and a closet or a dressing room. Two more of the plywood chairs squatted under a table with the black Formica top, and another one by a large curved desk built into the wall opposite her. Near her were an easy chair, a couch covered with gray felt, and a marble coffee table with brass legs. The wall behind them held shelves, almost to the high ceiling, and was filled with books, records, a high-fidelity unit, and a speaker. Individually, she liked the furniture and the contents of the room. It was the untidiness that appalled her. Without giving the matter much thought, Katie had rather expected to find a sleek reception room, a separate studio, a model in a bathing suit, or minks, and perhaps an aesthetic-looking young man under a black hood behind the camera. The man who emerged, drying his hands with a towel, looked anything but aesthetic. He was bulky and tweedy, middle-aged, large-faced, sparse of hair, and generous of smile, and he could have passed nicely for a prize fighter. He offered his hand. "You're Kathy Owens, Mr. Esperon. I called about your ad for an assistant, and you told me to come on over." "Oh, yes. Cigarette? No? Okay. Tell me something about yourself. What experience have you had?" "Very little," she admitted, and felt herself flushing. "I used to take pictures in high school, and occasionally did a little darkroom work with my father in the kitchen for fun. but I really don't know anything about chemicals or emulsions or any of those things." "All right," he was smiling a little at her. "What are your assets now, besides modesty and honesty? You type?" "Oh, about 50 words a minute, and I'm accurate," Katie said, relieved to be able to tell him something positive. "Ever held a job? Used to reception work, filing, sending out bills, answering the phone?" "Well, I used to do some work for my father in the summer, and I'm sure I could handle reception work and learn to do billing and filing." He asked her about her education and learned that she was in her last year of college and needed a part-time job in the afternoons to pay for books, tuition, and give her some pocket money. She lived at home with her mother, recently widowed, and a young brother. Since her father's death, there was no money for luxuries like college. What college did she go to? The University of Minnesota, of course, since it was right in Minneapolis. "Why did you apply for this job instead of working in a department store or office? Or doing something else that young ladies usually go for. Girls don't often apply for this kind of work." Katie hesitated. "Well, partly because I thought I'd have a chance to learn something new, but mostly, I suppose, because I needed the part-time work, and your ad specified that." He looked soberly at her for a moment. Abruptly, he rose and beckoned her. "Come see my darkroom." The closet was much bigger than she had supposed, but what really astonished her was its contrast to the studio. Everything radiated cleanliness and was in perfect order. Stainless steel trays were piled on one shelf, large blue boxes of paper in different sizes on another, chemicals, bottles, tongs, developing racks, and thermometers on the third, all within easy reach. A large paper cutter was covered to protect it from dust, and there was a dryer and, of course, other accessories. The basin, also of stainless steel, was spotless. On a separate table, lording it over all the lesser equipment, stood a magnifying enlarger. Katie's face mirrored her surprise and with her respect for the room and its contents. "Why, it's like an operating room, and so she halted, embarrassed. "So different from the other room?" he finished and chuckled. No self-respecting photographer can afford to be slovenly about his work, no matter how careless he is about other things. Negatives must be treated like jewels. You can never replace them if they're lost or damaged. Everything here has its place and must be kept in perfect condition. Back in the studio, he showed her a cabinet full of negatives. A larger cabinet held big blue boxes, all labeled. He opened a couple and let her glance through the prints inside. She was fascinated by studies of magnified insects, bees, and spiders in one box, by delicate shells and skeletons of sea creatures in another. He watched her go through the photographs, listening over some pictures, briefly passing over others. Katie finished and closed the box as if it held a treasure. "I've never seen anything like them," she said, in an awful mindful of snapshot albums in her room. "I suppose lots of people apply for jobs like this, and probably all they know so much about it." "Quite a few. Some of them do know quite a bit about it. Tell you the truth, I'd half decided to take a boy who applied this morning. He's done photographic work for a school paper, and he could pitch in without much coaching to help me print some rush work. But he doesn't type, and I really need someone for that from time to time." He paused and leveled a steely gaze at her. "Can you mop up floors, keep files in good order, run errands when necessary, do some research now and then, use your head in an emergency?" She nodded vigorously in answer, rather surprised at how much she wanted the job. He stubbed out a cigarette. "Tell you what, suppose we try you out for a couple of months. Only I warn you that if work piles up, I'll expect you to stick around to take care of it, not run out on the dot of 5:30. This is no work for clock watchers, because if I'm in a meeting, a deadline has to get done. But if you really want to learn something about photography, I can give you a pretty fair guidance. $25 a week, 1:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday. Does that suit you? So guys, that is where we're going to end the story for today, but I will be back with Katie story time here on YouTube, and we will find out what happens to Katie and her camera. So for now, stay in, stay safe, and binge YouTube.
That's why I go for that rock and roll